When Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, "Come up once more, for he has told me all his heart." So the lords of the Philistines came up to her and brought the money in their hand. 19. Then she lulled him to sleep on her knees and called for a man and had him shaved off the 7 locks of his head. Then she began to torment him, and his strength left him. Bless you. 20. And she said, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." So he woke, and from his sleep he said, "I will go out as before at other times and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Lord had departed from him. 21. Then the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza. They bound him with bronze fetters, and he became a grinder in prison. All right. So, what were some things that came to mind as we were, as I was reading it, as we were reading it together? What were some things that just popped into your head?
She had cut off his head, and his strength went away.
That is right. That is right. So we're going to actually talk about that. That is very good. She did cut off his hair, and his strength went away.
I was wondering if the strength went away because of his disobedience to God, or was it really the hair?
We will. It's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. When we get into Samson, then and kind of the life of Samson very quickly, then we will talk about the vow that he took from birth. And then you'll understand why it was both the disobedience and it was also the hair. Both of them together combined was why he actually ended up losing his, it wasn't even his strength. You notice what it says is he lost his connection with God. The strength is meaningless. The real thing was his connection with God. Now you can do it. Now Satan can do whatever he wants because you lost what?
So when you lose your connection with God, you can also clean it back up.
That is true, and Samson does do that. And Samson does do that. By the end of the verse, he actually does pick his connection back up. Because even in 22, it says his hair began to grow back. Which means his connection was growing back. It was growing stronger. Even as he was being a grinder in prison, and he was in prison and basically forced to work, his connection was what? Being reestablished. But it wasn't until he prayed that he was able to connect. Like his strength may have been growing back, but it wasn't until he prayed that he reconnected. So let's begin then with step 1. We admit that we are powerless over our problems and that our lives have become unmanageable. We admit that we are powerless over our lives and powerless over our problems, and our lives have become unmanageable. All right. There's 2 parts. There's an A clause and a B clause. So we're going to talk about the A clause first, then we're going to talk about the B clause. We admit that we are powerless over our problems. All right, let's start there. If you have a problem, the definition of that means I can't control it. What does that mean? If I can control it, then it's not a problem. If I can control it, then it's not a problem. So you might now your problem and my problem and your problem and my problem may be completely different problems. So you might say you have a problem with, like Samson, women. You have a problem with gambling. someone looks over, the person has a problem with gambling, looks over at the person that has a problem with women and says, I don't have a problem with women, I'm okay. I don't have that problem, so therefore I'm what? I'm okay. Ha, look at you. I'm okay. But the thing is, that's the point of a stronghold. It's the problem areas that we have to worry about. But the problem areas we don't have power over. And when we try to take power over them is when Satan has us. I can do this just a little. I can walk, but what? How much?
Just a little.
But if you could walk just a little, then it's not a problem. So, but we fool ourselves into believing we can walk just a little, right up to the line. I can walk right there, and I know when to stop. I know when to what?
Stop.
But we never know.
Now, I had to admit, because I was coming to church, as soon as church was open, I'm getting me a Bowie. You know, now that I got my push start, he's looking at what I'm doing with that push start. Now I got it. Now why do I need to create some more habits that's going to create me to do the same old thing again? I might not even come back.
Right.
So right now I'm going through a battle with the alcohol because I know I can't drink no more no matter what. If I do,
You're going to go. You're going to go.
I'm gonna go because it's gonna lead to something else and you ain't gonna like me.
But see, that's the thing. Your thing is alcohol. My thing might be women. Someone else's thing might be something else. You know, I like cute women. I'm not going to lie, but I'm married, so I can't have cute women. But the point of the matter is, that doesn't mean that my eyes were poked out. It doesn't mean that women stop being cute. So what does that mean? That means that I have to recognize that I am
Powerless over women. Over women.
so that means I got to, when it comes, because I'm powerless, what do I have to do? I can't control.
Get some help.
I got to ask God.
You need some help.
I need some help. You see, that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. You say, I got to control it. How can you control something that I just told you got a problem with? That's your weakness. That's my weak area. Satan is not going to tempt me with crack cocaine. Satan can put crack cocaine right there in front of me, and I'll be like, okay. Okay, that's cool. I'm cool with that. But that means nothing to me. So Satan's going to waste.
That's not your problem.
That's not my problem. That may be someone else's problem, but that's not my problem. So Satan knows my personal problem. And he knows if he hits me exactly at the right time, at the exact right spot, I'm going to do what? So at that point, it's on me to recognize. Oh.
There you go. There you go.
It's on me to recognize. See, once I realize that I can't control this within myself, is when I can start controlling it with God. You see? So once I get that call and I go, oh. You know, if you answer that phone, what's going to happen? You're going to go. So at some point, you've got to be like, you know what? I'm just not going to answer the phone. But then they're going to show up. Now they're in front of me. What do I do? That's when you say, I am powerless over this problem. And you pray for what? Strength. I pray that you get me out of this. I pray you get me out of this problem.
I think that was a good point when you said, though, that you kind of, got some type of control over one thing, and now something else has replaced it. Now you're not drinking, now you hooked on candy or sugar or caffeine, coffee all the time, Red Bulls, 5-hour energy, kind of having that issue, or I don't know.
And here's what I want to say about that. Because the other part is, and our lives have become unmanageable. That's where the lives have become unmanageable part comes in. Now, you say, my life is not unmanageable. I'm able to go to work. I'm able to do this. I'm able to do that. Yes. But in that area, you aren't able to manage. Your life may be perfect in 95%, but that 5% will ruin if you let it.
When I was
Can we get a mic for the audience? Is that possible?
I got it. Mic check, man. Go cut it for me.
Hello?
Mic check.
I can speak loud.
Yeah.
I can speak loud. I know that when I was in my 30s, I was battling sanity. And when I was delivered and God set my mind on the present and the now, the struggle that I had is when I had a problem, it was easy to try to revert back to a habit that I was always in. When life got difficult, it was easy to try to go back where I used to manage it in a bad way. And for me, I had to continually, because I learned for me, I can't speak for anybody else, I was delivered, but Satan knows my weakness. And he kept throwing whatever in my path that would cause me to revert back to bad behavior. And people would think then they thought I was crazy because I was always talking to myself, saying, stay in the present, cover your mind. I was always, because I'm a physical person. So I talk with my hands and everything. So when I call out to God, it wasn't just, Lord, help me.
There you go.
I need some help right now. So Lord, cover my mind, cover my ears. Let me hear. I want to stay in the present. I need your help now. Because the fight came when I was out of it, not while I was in it.
Right.
And it took a year to not have to do that all the time.
But there's another part to that. And this is why it's not I admit that I am powerless. The step is what? We admit.
We are powerless.
We are better, what? Together. God will send angels in the form of people in your way to help you in that situation. If you let him. If you let him. He'll send somebody. So you'll be like, oh man, that was the whole point of AA. Two guys got together and said, we can't do this alone. You help me, I help you. When I have a problem, you have a problem. So when you're in a church setting, so often we want to what? Shelter away. I don't want anybody to know. I'll tell you something. I was teaching, and I had just got a truck or a car. Actually, my car was repoed. I think I told you Sunday. My car was repoed. And the boss, and my wife and I were sitting at dinner, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. I'm going to have to catch a bus now, and that's what we're just going to do. I'm going to catch the bus, and I'm going to have to walk, and I'm going back to that. It's cool. And my former boss called me up and was like, let's go to dinner. Your wife, my wife, let's go to dinner. So we go to dinner. And at the dinner, now I'm ashamed because my car was what? It was repoed. It wasn't like it was stolen or lost. It was what? Repoed. And I'm sitting there at the dinner, and God is like, just tell him. But I don't want to tell him, because why? I'm ashamed. But I finally say, you know what? Man, they repoed my car. They repoed my car, man. He goes, how are you going to get to work? You work nights, man. It's like, yeah, I know. And the bus doesn't run, so I'm going to have to walk for half of it then to the stop where it is. And it's like super far, and it's in a bad neighborhood. It's like, you can't walk that. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to. I don't have a shop. He was like, look, I have a car. I'm going to just give it to you. I don't have money. I don't have the money to pay, man. He was like, I didn't say pay, man. And he gave me, am I lying? He gave me a truck. But imagine if I was so shamed that I didn't say anything.
Closed mouth never get fed.
But that's the same with this. You have a problem and you're trying to fix that problem. Maybe God has put an angel in your way to help you. You just got to recognize him.
Now, when your life is unmanageable, and if you don't fix it, it can help you lose everything.
Without a doubt.
I won't be the type of person, Friday come, I order a catering truck, Monday, I'm hired from a catering truck, and I want to borrow from you, didn't you just get paid? You know, and much as I like money, I was just acting like a kid in a candy.
It just goes. You can't hold on to it. It just goes.
Until things start to matter. Once it starts to matter, you start to get a little taste of God back. Everything matters. That's when the change comes. When you go in and admit that I can't do this.
I can't do this for myself.
I need your help. Come in here with me, Lord. And as you see, you driving your car, the stronger you gonna get. Now a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you need a sponsor." Okay, I might need a sponsor, but right now I'm staying focused on me.
But I'm not even saying a sponsor. See, this isn't AA, and I'm not saying that you need a sponsor. I'm saying there's probably somebody already in your life. God sends angels, not sponsors. Maybe it's a sponsor. I've heard great things with sponsors, and I've heard horrible things with sponsors. I've heard sponsors getting drunk and high with their people. You know, I've heard, you know, I get a call. I call you. I need help, and now we both on the crack high. But so I've seen that go that way too. So I'm not saying a sponsor. What I'm saying is maybe a pastor, maybe a cousin, maybe it's someone that you hurt in the past, and now Satan is using that hurt to say, I'm too ashamed to go back and talk to that person because look at what I did. And that person is really just waiting for you to call, just waiting for you to call. But I can't call because why? I'm embarrassed. I can't go. But that shame is brought on by Satan. And that person is just waiting. My boss was just waiting. I get maybe he even knew because I was already catching a bus. So maybe he already knew that I didn't have a car. But he just randomly called me like, hey, let's go to dinner. But if I hadn't said nothing because of my own shame.
And he probably didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, he didn't want to bring it up.
You know, he didn't, I'm waiting to see if he reach out for help, I'll help him. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to just wait to see if that person, because sometimes you extend yourself, and then it may be rejected because of that embarrassment. You know, now you got two hurt people. Okay? Now we crying on each other, because you done hurt me for my niceness. You know, now my feelings is hurt because I thought I was doing a good thing. You know, and you rejected me because of your embarrassment. Now you don't have a car. I'm about to cry. You know, so maybe he was just waiting for you to.
He must have been. Because as soon as we said it, right? He was like, I got a car for you. Let's do it.
Yeah, I thought he was joking. I said, wait, what? Did you just say? We didn't care what it was.
Yeah, that's how you come through.
And we had the baby and everything. So.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm saying. You know, this concept of we. Usually when we have these problems, it's I. We close off. I don't want anybody to know. I got a problem with alcohol. I got a problem with gambling. I don't want anybody to know.
Somebody knows.
But your enemy already knows. Let's go to Samson. Judges, but we're talking about Samson. I do that. I just finished a series on Samson, and I do that all the time. I say this. 16, 18, and 21. But really, I'm just going to be rambling on and on about Samson.
Genesis chapter 16?
Yeah, but I'm just going to be rambling on and on. I'm not even in Samson 16 yet. So,
Can I say something really quickly? And forgive me for being tragic, Kathy. Because I think we all are delivered from something or going through something, and I won't be mine. So this is like the first time I've been able to share that with people other than the people who already knew. But I had to be really careful who I let in my circle.
yeah.
Okay, let me back up. I was in the process of committing suicide. I was in the process of committing suicide because my brain had gone so far that I couldn't reel it back
16.
in. And I went to church for the sole reason to say goodbye. That was it. I just went to say goodbye to everybody. I was gonna call my son and tell him I love him, call my mom, tell him I love him, and I was gonna check out. And while I was in service, God said to me, Holy Spirit said to me, you can't do this one by yourself. He said it 3 times. When the altar call came, I went down, I'm crying, I'm nervous, because now I gotta tell this whole church that I love that I was crazy and I needed help. Once the mothers of the church surrounded me, laid hands on me, it was gone. I'm in clarity of mind for the first time in my life. And women came up to me afterwards to offer help. And I remember this one lady that walked up to me and said, girl, I'm going through the same thing you're going through. Girl, we need to talk about it. I didn't want her number. She couldn't talk to me. But the other 3 ladies that came to me gave me their number and said, I don't care what time of day it is. If you're struggling, call me. 2 o'clock in the morning, call me. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, call me. Because we're going to pray about it and we're going to let it go until I was strong enough with Christ to do it on my own. I had to be careful who I let around me that was offering quote unquote help that would have drugged me right back into where I was.
That's the truth.
That's true.
That's real.
That's real. That's so true. So, let's talk about Samson. All right, let's go to Samson. To me, Samson is the poster boy for my life is unmanageable and I'm powerless over my problems. Samson is the poster boy for this. Like, I could just stay in Samson for the next 12 weeks talking about Samson's problem. I'm not, but I could, because Samson is the poster boy. Samson 13:2. Now there was a certain man from Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had no children.
Where are you at again?
Samson 13. Judges 13. Indeed, now you are barren and have borne no child. Oh. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, indeed, now you are barren and have borne no children, for you shall conceive and bear a son. Now, therefore, please be careful. Here's the important part. 4. Now, therefore, please be careful not to drink wine or similar drink, and not to eat anything unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a what? Nazarite to God from the womb. And he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines. What is a Nazarite? A Nazarite is a vow that a Jewish person would take for a short amount of time. Sometimes 30 days, sometimes 60 days. Sometimes, and this is a big one, 3 months. Okay? But there was no longer than 6 months. A year was really pushing it. Like, you were really doing a lot if you were doing a year. Why? Because a Nazarite was a very strict way of living, and you had to be called to that. That union with Christ, God, at that time. So Yahweh, God, would ask you, okay, take this vow. But you would take the vow for a certain amount of time. And they would give burnt offerings, and they would do a ceremony to welcome you into being a Nazarite. And you might stay at the temple for a certain amount of time, and you would do the work of God, and this is a ritual cleansing. And these were the rules that they had to follow as a Nazarite. But the rules were so strict that people only did it for how long? At most of the time it was like 30 days. Because you gave up your whole life. So it was really something special that Samson was asked to do it from what? Until what?
To death.
That's a long time. Remember, people only was able to do it for 30 days to 6 months, maybe a year. Samson was asked to do it to the day he was born. Matter of fact, before he was born, because his mom had to do it from the womb. He had a powerful connection with God because God had already connected him from conception into this pact. Samson knew no other way, you understand. His whole life was doing what? Being a Nazarite. So he was darn near perfect. No drink, no razors, had to work in the temple. He was darn near perfect from birth, except for what? This one. He was almost perfect, except for one. From birth. He had one weakness. It didn't say he had any other weaknesses. He was super strong. He was smart. He was probably good looking. I would assume he was probably good looking. He had all of this stuff going for him. But that one weakness, 3 chapters later, destroys him totally. So it wasn't the hair, but it was the hair. You see? Because the vow that he took, that he really didn't take, but was given to him from birth, from conception, from the time that God told her that it was going to happen, was that he was not going to do what? Cut his hair. And he kept that vow. Except for him. I'm glad that you said that. Everybody blames Delilah. I'd have no animosity towards Delilah.
Well, she asked, what was his secret?
But here's the thing. She had tried to gain his secret 3 times before. And every time she tried to gain his secret, every single time, he said, if you bound me in some special rope. So she binds him up. And oh, look, here comes the Philistines magically. And he breaks the rope. And he's like, aha. And he goes, well, if you bind my hair, then she binds his hair up. And oh, here comes the Philistines again. Wow, these Philistines are always here when...
Was that part of the punishment? Why was he blinded? Was that part of the punishment?
No, see, the punishment, there was no punishment. You got to understand. He had a sacred vow that connected him in a special way with God. He had a sacred vow. We have a covenant as a church, as a Christian faith, to follow Jesus. It's the same thing to a degree. A child that's been raised up in the Christian faith don't really have an option until he's an adult, right? But if you train him up in a way, he'll go. When he's old, he won't what?
Depart.
So Samson was raised up in this vow. He really broke the vow when he told this unclean woman what his secret was. That was really the breaking of the vow. Why would you tell this unclean woman because you got to understand, Nazarite was something special. Not everybody was a Nazarite. You might go your whole life and not know any Nazarites because it was a special vow. When the angel came to Manoah's wife, and Manoah told, and his wife told Manoah, they didn't know what a Nazarite was. They're like, I don't know what this is. They had to call the angel back to explain it to them again because they didn't know. Normal people would not have even known what a Nazarite was. So they would not have even known what the vow was. So there would have been no way for the Philistines to devise what his weakness was. There would have been no way. So he really broke the vow when he let this unclean woman know what his vow was.
He had to be awful weak.
He was.
Because of the simple fact of it is, I love women. I love women. I see them and I love them. I love them. But to where my standards is with them, I have to stand my grounds before I can have one.
But here's the thing. What you just told me is what I started out with. Women ain't your weakness.
No.
But women is his weakness. You understand? So he wasn't weak. He was strong in 98% of his life. But in that one area, he had a weakness. He had an area in which he could not control. So you did the exact thing I was hoping for. You said, look at him. He's a weak. No, he's strong. He was a Nazarite for over 20 years at this point. He was leading in the end of 15. He's an elder. So he's not weak. He's a strong man. To be a Nazarite, people only do it for 30 days and be like, I'm done. There's even a way to get out of it if you can't do it for 30 days.
What made him have to tell her his weakest spot? Like he was honest?
No, he told her 3 times a lie. He lied to her 3 times. But what did I come back to? I admit that we are what? In this area. He had power in every other thing. But in this area.
So certain things in our life that we are powerless, and it's almost impossible to get over that.
In our own power. In our own power.
I got you, bro.
In our own power. Now, it's not impossible. Because through God, through Jesus, we can do what? But in my own power. Not in this area. But Samson, we look down on Samson because of Delilah. But come on now. The life of a Nazarite, there's a literal ceremony. If you took a vow for 30 days and could only do a week, there was a ceremony you could do to get out of it. Okay? There was like, okay, I can't do this no more. This is too strict and I'm back to my life. So being a Nazarite for 20 plus years meant that he had control.
Basically, he was like a priest, like how
he was like
on that level, like a priest.
I would say a priest was here and he was right there. I wouldn't say he was a priest because he wasn't able to do the priestly things, but he was right there. He was right there. He had to be as clean as a priest.
Like a deacon.
Like a deacon. Like a deacon. So he was so I'm glad, thank you for saying that. Because I really want you to get this. Samson was a strong man. But throughout all the judges from 13 to 16, what keeps popping up? Women. And then he goes and he destroys all of this.
Not just women, but it was also money involved.
No. That was for her. That was for Delilah.
She didn't get silver for,
That was for Delilah. That was for Delilah. But that had nothing to do with Samson. That just shows me that Delilah didn't care nothing for him. Like he was in love with this woman that didn't care for him at all. You know? She just looked at him as a meal ticket, a setup, or, you know, an opportunity. But that money, that wasn't Samson's problem. Samson, it never says that Samson has a problem with money. He's 100%. No, he's 95%. Because he's good in every other area. There's nothing, from 13 to 16, it doesn't challenge Samson in any other area. We don't, and believe me, if he had another problem, the Bible would tell you, right? He has zero problems in any other area except for
Now, back then, I don't know where it even came from. There wasn't no money then.
what? There was
Something better than money.
no, it was money. no. There was real money. Like you know how we have ducats? They had ducats. They had cash. They had silver. They had actual money. Like we have paper, which is meaningless. No, they had real gold and silver. They had real money. And the other money that they had was cattle. So what if you were a farmer, your commerce was your cattle. Even today, if you go to the hills of Tibet, they don't operate with money so much. They have sheep. And if you got 50 sheep, you balling. You know, you give that sheep over, you can get a Cadillac. You know? But they had actual gold. They had silver and gold. And they had cattle. So when they came to Delilah, they said, Delilah, we're going to make you a billionaire, basically, or a millionaire. We're going to set you up for life. You won't have to worry about nothing forever. Now, if she really loved him, she would be like, I'm good. I'm good. But, millionaire for life. Millionaire for life.
Millionaire for life for turning him.
That's right. And she did it. And she got, and they paid her, and we didn't hear nothing else from her. She was set up for life. I don't blame Delilah. Yet again, who do I blame? Samson. Because Delilah, if Samson had not told her, then what would have happened? There's no way to know.
She never would cut his hair.
Never would know. That would cut his hair. Who would have done that? Like that would have been.
Sleep, drunk or whatever.
Yeah, she did her business. She did.
But no, he wasn't allowed to drink, and he was not allowed to drink wine.
Yeah, she intoxicated him with her body.
Yeah, they weren't
That's
allowed.
kind of she intoxicated him with her body.
He got overtaken by something else. Yeah,
Right, because in the New Living Translation it says in verse 15, Delilah pouted.
Oh,
How can you tell me I love you when you don't share your secrets with me?
Mm-hmm.
You've made fun of me 3 times now, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong. And you know what kind of voice she used in. She tormented him with her nag.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a sweet nagging to his ear, because you gotta remember he was married. He had a wife.
No.
He was dead.
She.
No. Go back to the 14th chapter. He had a wife.
Nope. Sorry. The 14th chapter, he married her, and then they burned her. They burned her and her dad. They burned her and her dad.
Yeah, but he had a wife.
He had a wife. Yeah, he had past tense. Yeah.
He had a wife.
Right.
And she was a nagger.
And she was a nagger.
Okay? She betrayed him with a riddle.
A riddle. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? She nagged him until he gave her the answer.
Yeah.
And then she went and told him.
He gave in to her.
You know, So he,
Because people got
He's
their
just
weakness.
weak.
People got their
He's just,
weakness.
his weakness is women.
you know, and you can see back in the day, that little three, what word? I love you.
It says he loved her, but
I don't know, I think this story kind of shows that even when we are, you know, in a high position or think we're, you know, above certain things, there's always a little nagging thing or that thorn that can just, you know, especially when we're weak, it can just really just throw us off, you know.
That's
just-
enough to, discuss one life.
But you know the saying, everybody's looking for love in the wrong place.
Right. Let's say it again.
Everybody looking for love in the wrong place. But the scriptures tell us that God is love. So you need to run, as the pastor was saying here, when temptation come upon you, you need to run
Yeah.
to the Lord.
yeah.
Okay, seriously.
Or to an angel that the Lord put in your way.
He'll put them there.
He'll put somebody in your way.
Here it is.
Somebody would have been.
I got all this. Here come the woman. Knowing all about him, there wasn't no problem for her getting it.
Yeah, no, there was a problem. I mean, he told her 3 times it was a lie.
When he got rich, how did she get rich?
He didn't get rich. You got to understand.
Only Delilah got rich.
Delilah got rich.
Okay, whoever got rich, somebody else came along and got some of that, whatever he had.
He was rich with the faith.
Yeah, whatever, whoever had. I mean, look, okay, I'm looking at it like this.
This woman loved.
I know I'm letting you in my deepest secret. You get me filled with something, it's no problem for me getting it because I know your weakest thing right now. It's women.
Oh, yeah, so you're right. So you're right.
So I have no problem getting whatever I need from you.
You're right from the Philistines' perspective. So the Philistines hated Samson. Okay? They hated Samson to their core. And they had a reason to. I mean, even in these verses, he wreaked havoc. And he probably wreaked havoc for the 20 years he was alive, leading Israel. He was wreaking havoc.
Think about the fact that he tied foxes' tails together and lit them on fire and burned up all their fields.
Mm-hmm. And then he went and killed up all those people. And then, so the Philistines hated him. They were a real enemy to him. So, but they knew that he had what? This one problem. And every time in the book he's with a woman, here come who? Here they come. He's with the prostitute, here they come. He gets married, here they come. He's now with Delilah, the woman he loves. Guess.
If Philistine comes.
Here they come. Because your enemy knows your weakness. Which enemy? I give you 2 enemies. You've got an enemy that we can't see, the spiritual, and then we got physical enemies. Real people. Real people. Real people that Satan puts in your life as a stumbling block to ruin what you got. There's 2. There's Satan himself who is sitting there wherever he's at, maybe right next to you, poking you, trying to figure out how we're going to get this boy. And then we've got the minions that Satan's pushing along to help you to fall down. The Philistines hated him, but the Philistines, he's not gonna tell them his secret. So what did they use? They used his weakness against him. And he allowed.
Yeah, okay.
So when we say that, you see, when we recognize that in this area, and believe me, I don't know all of you, I know myself. I know I have what? A weakness. And I also know, not because I'm a diviner, not because I'm some special science. No, I know because I know the Bible that all of you have what? A weakness. You have an area in your life that you are powerless to control. And the only way to control it. Now, why is that though? Let's close with the why. I always like to finish with a word of encouragement and wisdom. I've got 3 minutes left to encourage you. When we are at a point where we recognize that we can't do it all ourselves, is when we are ready to be used by God. It is not before then that God is able to use us. When we recognize that I am not 100%, it is when we are ready then to be a tool which God can use to do whatever he wants to do. But as long as we're doing it all for ourselves, then what happens? We're gonna constantly mess it up.
Yeah, every time.
Every time. So when we recognize, yes, I did all of this great stuff. That's why it's kind of weird when people are like talking about all the stuff I did, because to me, that's the past. I did that yesterday. That don't mean nothing today. Today, you're asking me, what are you going to teach me in this hour? Not what I did in the past. That's meaningless. Because I recognize in this moment, I am only 25%. Where's the other 75% coming from? God. And the people that God puts in my life. When you recognize that, then you start to make the connections necessary to move yourself. But don't think that God's going to take it away. Why? Why would he take away the thorn? Because you ask? No. Fight. He wants you to struggle. In the struggle comes what? The strength and the deliverance. If you never struggle, then you never know what it is to struggle, and you never have a testimony for someone else that is what? And we are done.